Hi everyone and welcome back to Scrollbox subscription unboxing with Bats, Cats and Broomsticks. Today we've got the Scrollbox for the month of August and I'm really excited to open this one and see what we've got inside. I've seen a couple of things online where people are saying they're a bit unusual, the materials in this one, so let's see what they mean. As always, it's always beautifully wrapped up in tissue paper. Everything feels like it's super safe and shipped to me. Nothing's ever come broken. We've got a beautiful little sticker and we've got our month's little card, the little card with our challenge on it, where the rivers flow this month. That's an interesting one. On the back of the card's always what we've got in the box. So we've got what feels like a scratchy toothpick and a smudge stick. We've got our pencil here. This is a really hard pencil. We've got an artist's eraser. This eraser is really very stiff and a bit unforgiving feeling as I pick it up. So we've got our little sweet, like every box, and we've got these Stanley oil pastels, and they're wrapped with oil pastel sheets for drawing on in with them, which is really cool. So then we've got our Artists of the Month, the print. You can see on the print like where they've shown us what that little smudge stick is for, where they've created some extra definition and texture in what looks like trees. Then we've got an additional drawing paper. This drawing paper looks like it's good quality, so it'll be exciting to see what they look like on that. And then we've got our catalogue. So the first page of the catalogue, we've always got the same thing where it shows us what we've gotten in the box, a little bit about them, any hints or tips or useful things they've got to say that might be useful for us to look at. Then we've got a little feature about the Artist of the Month, so this is Julie. And then we've got hints and tips and tricks and advice. And then we've got a Scrollbox subscription unboxing creations from previous box. This was the box with the neon highlighters in it, I believe. I really like the colours that these actually ended up coming out with. And at the end we've got a little bit about the magic of working with pastels. So that would be really useful information in this particular box. So now we've had a look at what's in the box, I can tell you I am not super excited about working with oil pastels because they are one of my least favourite materials. Not because they're not brilliant art materials, but because I don't like the waxy quality. I don't like touching or the feel of that oily waxiness, and I don't like how it transfers onto things, and it's hard to keep your workspace clean from it, and it's just one of those art materials that I've always avoided at all cost. So with that in mind, I'm going to try and test these as fairly as I possibly can, and we're going to swatch them out, starting with Stanley Yellow. This smells like really familiar, like the crayons they used to give me when I was a kid at school. They go on the paper like butter. They're so smooth. They are incredible. As far as pastels go, these are some of the nicest pastels I have ever come across. The colour comes off true to colour, so you can see it with that tealy turquoisey colour. There is no difference between the pastel and the colour it is swatching out on the paper. And the black for this particular set looks really rich and vibrant, and the white is a really nice crisp white and blends very well. So the first thing that I would probably say about these is that unlike pastels I've used in the past, they are incredibly soft, and I imagine that that would make them really nice to work with. They do scratch back off the paper pretty well, like to reveal things underneath. I've never used the scratch away technique with oil pastels before, so it'll be interesting to see how this works in doing an actual drawing. So we have here the rubber that they provided with this set, and I'm just going to try and open it up now. The first thing that I'm going to like really tell you about my observation here is that it is incredibly hard. I'm not used to any rubbers being this hard, and I mean, if you remember in school how they had the I remove ink side of the rubbers, it is a similar levels of hard to that, just without texture. So I feel like it's a very unforgiving rubber. And it says on the rubber that it's for taking off really hard, deep, dark lines. And to a certain degree I can see that, but it does leave residue behind. It is not the best rubber I've ever used. Perhaps I'm using it wrong, but it's not my favourite so far. There are a lot of rubbers that have come with the Scrollbox subscription boxes that I have been in absolute amazement and awe of, some of which I still use regularly, that have been added to my collection of useful items that I use all the time. So that's everything that's in the box. This is the little challenge we've got, where the rivers flow, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to try and make a landscape with so few colours. In my mind, with like only a couple yellows, 2 blues, black and a white, I'm not too sure what I could create with that. It's lacking in greens and foliage colours. I just feel like I would do a disservice to my painting. So I decided to do a sketch of a dog, something really simple that I found online. This is on one of the oil pastel cards, so it is really very small. Getting the detail in with that in mind was very difficult. So one of the observations I would say is that this would be way better if you were working in large pieces, very big, wide spaces where the detail can be more the width of the pastel you're using. So bearing in mind, I still think that I got some decent quality, interesting textures and things out of these. As far as pastels go, I found them really easy to use. The colours came down on the paper really nicely. I felt like it was super easy to work them on top of each other and together. I didn't have any difficulty with them resisting each other. So as far as oil pastels go, these are amazing soft oil pastels, and I would recommend them to anybody who actually works with oil pastels as being really very good, highly pigmented, good quality oil pastels, genuinely. But oil pastels aren't my thing, per se, so I may not be doing the best job here of demonstrating their good qualities. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding whether or not these are oil pastels for you. I did really enjoy using these oil pastels. When I saw them in the box, I honestly thought, I'm not going to enjoy this. It's not going to be for me. They're going to be really messy, and I've never had any luck with oil pastels before, and I can't draw or paint with them. Every time I've tried, I've made a chronic mess everywhere. But I was very honestly surprised in a good way that this came out a lot better than I thought it would. I was a lot happier with the end results than I thought, but there was a big stage in the middle there where I was dealing with that ugly phase that your paintings and drawings has a tendency to go through. Like, everybody's tends to go through this phase where it's like, oh good grief, what have I done? Where is this going? I should give up on this. This is a nightmare. Phase before everything starts to pull together. And this definitely hit that phase pretty hard. Honestly, I felt like halfway through it, I was like, this isn't going to look like a dog. This is going to be terrible. It's going to be all over the place. How do I fix this? But as I progressed and kept with it, I realised that there was a lot of things that these oil pastels added to my drawing that you couldn't get out of painting alone, at least, because you could build these beautiful layers on top of each other, and they really did build really, really nicely. One of the things that I should have tried a little bit more of was blending them out, but as I did blend a little piece of it out here and there, I noticed that the colours got a little bit muddy when I tried that, so I prefer the layering them technique. But again, I'm not great with oil pastels. I think they're an absolute nightmare to use and a bit messy and all over the place, so I'm not skilled with techniques to demonstrate these at all. But again, I was impressed with them. They really did change my mind a little bit on oil pastels, if I'm honest. The smooth quality, the high pigmentation, those things really shone in these. So if you do want to work with oil pastels, I recommend them. Some things that I think are a downside for these are they come off everywhere. On your hands, on your fingers, on your desks, in this oily residue. But a pro for that, for these particular oil pastels, is that I found that they were incredibly easy to clean. When I washed my hands, I wasn't stood at the sink for hours on end trying to remove oily, disgusting, awful residue off of my hands. It came off really, really easily. I didn't have to constantly wash or use a special soap. My regular soap worked just fine. And that for me is a big selling point on oil pastels. I'm not gonna lie, I really do hate that oily residue on my fingers. It is not for me. So with thinking of that, they are super easy to clean. I had no worries about getting it back off my desk where it had ended up smudging. It cleaned up so nicely. I was so happy with that. So the final thing that I would say in this box is that I wasn't super impressed with the pencil, but I think the pencil was intended to be strong enough and hard enough that you could put it in with the oil pastels. Since I'm not very skilled at working with oil pastels, I didn't really consider that as a way you could use these or the pencil, so I didn't try that out. So I recommend, if you get this box, if you want to try that out, I think that might be a good idea. What I did have the opportunity to try out though was the scratching technique that was described in the subscription box catalogue hints and tips, and it really did help add loads of definition and texture to this drawing that I previously wouldn't have had, so I really like that. Also, the other thing, I love this combination of colours, and if I have the opportunity to use it again, I totally will. I love the yellow ochre colour in contrast with that tealy blue, the midnighty blue, that very Persian-y blue, and the black as well. It just really shouts that that is a good combination of colour, at least to me. So I hope that you guys really liked watching this. If you enjoyed my video today, like, subscribe, and keep following the channel for more.